The Ethics of Stunt Casting in the American Theater. A presentation by Megan Demarchi, IB number 00036800010. To begin our investigation, we first have to define the term stunt casting. In theater, stunt casting refers to the casting of well-known actors or singers who have usually become popular in television, movies, and with mainstream recording labels to play roles in Broadway musicals. Some recent examples include Jerry Springer in Chicago, Corbin Bleu in the Heights, Carrie Underwood in The Sound of Music, Brooke Shields in The Addams Family, and Nick Jonas in Les Miserables. The casting of such actors and actresses who do normally not have extensive theater training usually causes controversy among the Broadway community. We will focus our argument on a casting announcement made several months ago that left the Broadway community asking itself some very important questions. The casting of one-hit wonder Carly Rae Jepsen as the title character in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Carly Rae Jepsen is a 28-year-old Canadian pop star. She is most known for her hit song Call Me Maybe. Although she did have some theater training as a young child in Canada, she's clearly not skilled or experienced enough to be considered for the part if not for her pop fame. This begs the questions, is it fair to give coveted theater roles to pop culture icons simply because of their fame? What are the ethics of basing casting in a piece of art, such as a Broadway musical, on monetary gain? Do the ticket returns of such shows justify their questionable casting? And what does stunt casting do to the value of the art? To address our first question, we will have to look at Mrs. Jepsen's case. It's clear that she is full of enthusiasm for the role, having been quoted numerous times not only on her enthusiasm to be in one of her favorite musicals, but also to be living in New York. Still, despite her enthusiasm, it is clear that she does not have the training or experience that this part requires of her. What does her casting mean for aspiring artists? If producers continue to cast solely based on the fame factor, do aspiring actors and actresses have any hope of becoming successful? Many men and women graduate every year from 4-year musical theater schools, costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars, such as the University of Michigan, Yale, UCLA, and USC. However, stunt casting undermines the hard work and talent of these lesser-known performers and takes away their opportunities for success. If we continue to allow the big parts on The Great White Way to be given to pop stars and TV icons, there is less opportunity for these hard-working men and women who get the training required to be truly outstanding in the roles. For example, this is Jessica Hirschberg. Jessica Hirschberg has a BFA in musical theater from the University of Michigan, one of the nation's most prestigious theater schools. She has under her belt many Broadway and off-Broadway credits. However, she is now the swing for the character of Cinderella. Although she has more voice, dance, and acting training than Miss Jepsen, and is widely regarded as a better fit for the part, she has not been cast as a headliner because she is not a name. She is not expected to bring in as many ticket sales as Miss Jepsen, and although her career is still on the rise and a part such as Cinderella could greatly help her acting prospects in the future, she is not being considered. What are the ethics of casting a piece of art such as a Broadway musical based solely on monetary gain? To define this, we have to ask ourselves the purpose of Broadway musicals as an art form. Peter Brook is stated as saying, "In everyday life, if is a fiction. In theater, if is an experiment." It is therefore reasonable to assume that for many people, theater is meant to be an experience that teaches, instructs, and allows the viewer to contemplate decisions about their life and the world around them without actually putting any aspects of their future on the line. However, some maintain that if you want to reach people, theater is not always the best way to do it. Harvey Fierstein, for example, recognizes that many audience members simply come looking for a good time. Is this the purpose of art? Pure entertainment, or is it monetary gain? If this art form is based on non-enriching entertainment or monetary gain, then stunt casting is in fact a moral phenomenon. However, if the purpose is to allow creative escape and learning, then seasoned professionals are a must-have. As Stephen Sondheim put it, all the best performers bring to their roles something more, something different than what the author put on paper. That's what makes theater live. That's why it persists. However, the point must be made that stunt casting is often responsible for keeping shows with declining ticket prices up and running. But do the ticket returns of such shows justify their questionable casting? Often, the purpose of stunt casting is to increase the ticket sales of a failing show. For example, in Cinderella's last week with Laura Osnes, who played the original Ella, it was making a gross profit of $508,604 per week. In her first week, Jepsen brought the total up to $939,356 per week on the week of February 23rd. This did show a marked difference, but profits were still not as high as the first few weeks of the show's run. And ticket sales began declining rapidly after the initial excitement of Jepsen's new career move wore off. Within a few weeks, profits were back down to $781,798 per week and are steadily declining. While such returns may prolong a show's life, they will not save it permanently. However, it remains true that more patrons will be able to experience the show than if the stunt casting had not taken place. But what does stunt casting do to the value of the art? Is the Cinderella that Jepsen's viewers are watching the same as the viewers of Osnes? This brings up a language issue. Does the word art, which has multiple definitions, affect our knowledge of this issue? Art is not a truly definable word, as it is different for one person than the next. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines art as the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as a painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. If we are going by the definition of art as appreciated primarily for beauty, then Jepsen fits the bill. Her appearance does not sully the beautiful costumes, sets, or spectacle of the show. However, Osnes's performance clearly evokes more emotional power. Is art subjective or objective? And can art be termed good or bad? Is it possible for anybody to say that Laura's performance was good and Carly's is bad, or vice versa? In the theater community, art is generally concluded to be a subjective experience, but audience members often disagree as to its purpose. For example, the point of view of a theater critic such as Ben Brantley is radically different than that of a 6-year-old who wants to watch the story of Cinderella unfold, not really caring who plays the famed part. From an objective point of view, it is easy to see that Osnes and Hirschberg's training is far superior to Jepsen's. They can sing the classical music with ease, while several of Jepsen's songs had to be lowered in key and many of her harmonies were changed. This brings up another issue. What does stunt casting do to the music of the piece? To the composer, the musicians who have to learn how to play the song completely differently part of the way through their run. Audio clips of each performance prove Jepsen to be a passable Ella, but not nearly as sophisticated as that of Osnes or Hirschberg. At $150 a ticket, is the Cinderella that today's audiences see a truly Broadway experience? Does stunt casting change the definition of what the audience is coming to see? When it comes down to it, whether or not stunt casting is an ethical move depends on what the audiences are looking for in a theater experience. If audiences are looking for a more quality performance that's able to educate its audience and want to foster opportunity for new performers, stunt casting should be eliminated and producers should cast solely on talent. However, if it's more important to audience members that shows stay open and are slightly lower quality but with more public appeal and a longer run, casting big-name celebrities is the way to go. In reality, stunt casting isn't going to go away anytime soon, and likewise, the entire Great White Way will probably never become a huge district of pop stars and actors from NBC. Moderation is the key to creating memorable productions and being able to keep this industry running. Theater is an ancient art form, and there have been many changes throughout the hundreds of years in which it has been presented in hundreds of cultures throughout the world. While stunt casting is not a truly ideal phenomena, at least it keeps our precious industry up and running. And performers such as Carly Rae and Carrie Underwood, who show obvious enthusiasm for the role and work hard, cannot be faulted for the falling ticket prices and the decisions that the producers make to stave them off. However, because it is such a competitive industry, the impact on aspiring performers, on musicians, composers, and audience members must be taken into account when debating the ethics of casting based on fame. We're excited. The best stunt casting ever, BroadwayWorld.com. Broadway grosses, Cinderella. Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe Singer, reflects on her Broadway Cinderella story, EW.com. Inside Theater, Some Thoughts on Stunt Casting, The Broadway Bostonian. Jessica Hirschberg, from jessicahirschberg.com. Theater Quotes, from Brainy Quote. Tickets now on sale through September 7th. Buy here, from the website of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. What is the purpose of theater? Who is it for? From the website of Noises Off. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for viewing.